I recently lived through the kind of nightmare no parent ever wants to even imagine, let alone say out loud. Picture this: the HOA president's teenage son stole my SUV with my newborn baby girl asleep in the back seat just because he felt like taking it for a test drive. His words, not mine. And the only thing truly tested that day was my willpower not to send that kid straight to the moon with a right hook. So, yeah, that happened. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I wish I was. Let me back up a sec. Life used to be peaceful mornings filled with sunshine pouring through our kitchen window, the smell of fresh-cut grass, the little coos of our baby Lily drifting from her yellow nursery. All that calm got tossed out the window the minute Karen took over as HOA president. She was a force of nature with a clipboard patrolling our streets like she was the sheriff of some suburban outpost, outlawing beige mailboxes, measuring lawn lengths down to the millimeter, and worst of all, treating her daredevil son Spencer like some kind of immunity idol. Every time her SUV crept by, grown men would nervously inspect their flower beds, and dogs would mysteriously find new homes. That woman made Serenity pack its bags and skip town. It was a Thursday, one of those days where the air feels thick with summer heat, and the world just drags a little slower. I pulled into the driveway dead on my feet, but relieved Lily was finally asleep in the back. All I wanted was to get her inside, cool her down, and maybe steal a nap myself. But when I hit the garage door button, the thing shrieked halfway up and froze like a stubborn mule. The engine was running for the AC, so I grabbed a ladder to investigate, thinking it was just a rock or maybe a little jam. That's when Spencer showed up like a specter on two wheels, skidding to a stop with that lopsided grin plastered across his face. "Garage trouble, Mr. Henderson," he chirped, trying to sound helpful but dripping with teenage smugness. I wasn't exactly a fan. He'd earned a reputation as the neighborhood menace, and Karen always called it gifted energy. I just called it a pain in my backside. But I was tired and desperate to get back to Lily, so when he offered to help, I relented. What could go wrong, right? Just hold the ladder, kid. My mistake, obviously. As I crouched by the track poking at the jam, the garage door suddenly crashed down on my left hand, pinning my fingers to the concrete with a blinding shock of pain. The key fob for my SUV tumbled from my grasp. Through the blur of agony, I saw Spencer's eyes. He wasn't looking at me. He was staring at those keys. Before I could react, he snatched them up, darted to my SUV, and jumped in. "Hey, what are you doing?" I shouted, but it was too late. The engine was already on, and he slammed it into gear, peeling out of the driveway, with Lily, my helpless baby, strapped in the back seat. Terror does weird things to your body. I ripped my hand free, ignoring the pain, and sprinted down the street dialing 911, every breath ragged with fear. I could see my SUV, my entire world shrinking in the distance, Spencer behind the wheel, not a care in the world. He was driving like a maniac, barely slowing for the curve at the end of our street. He overshot it, crashed right through the fancy new HOA sign Karen had spent a fortune on, then God help me smash straight into a silver Porsche. Karen's Porsche. Airbags exploded, metal crumpled, and for a split-second time just stopped. I got there as Karen was stumbling out of her car, furious, not even checking on her son or my baby. All I cared about was Lily. I yanked open the back door. She was alive, crying but whole. Relief buckled my knees. I clutched her tight, telling her over and over that Daddy was here. But Karen wasn't done. She stormed over, accusing me of setting the whole thing up, blaming me for everything, as sirens wailed in the distance. The police rolled in, and in a scene straight out of some dark comedy, Karen lunged at me but smacked a cop right in the jaw instead. He didn't even hesitate. She was cuffed for assault on an officer, shrieking about conspiracies and her reputation, while Spencer sat on the curb, pale and shell-shocked. For a brief moment, I thought justice. Finally. But with Karen, nothing's ever that simple. The days that followed were a blur of hospital visits for my hand insurance claims and police statements. Sarah, my wife, was a wreck, furious at Karen and Spencer, terrified at how close we'd come to disaster. Our neighbors gossiped, peeking from their windows as the police came and went. Karen and Spencer faced charges: grand theft auto and child endangerment for Spencer, assault and resisting arrest for Karen. The HOA board even called an emergency meeting about her presidency. Lou, my retired neighbor and the neighborhood's unofficial historian, brought cookies and whispered, "Told you that Mainspring would snap Tom." I wanted to believe it was over. But the system works funny when you've got money and influence. Spencer was released to his dad, charges softened to reckless joyriding. Karen got out on bail, low bail, and suddenly all sorts of excuses started popping up. Emotional distress, temporary insanity. The kicker: I got a violation letter from the HOA. Karen, still president, somehow had convinced them to fine me for improperly secured vehicle. My car was stolen, my kid almost killed, and I was the one getting penalized. That's when I realized this fight was just getting started. Sarah wanted to move. "It's poison here," she said. Part of me agreed, but another part just burned. This woman wasn't going to drive us out of our home, wasn't going to bully every decent person into submission just because she was loud and sneaky. I decided to fight not with yelling, but by exposing the truth. So I started digging. Lou was the first to help. 30 years in the neighborhood. He knew all the old skeletons. He told me about shady landscaping contracts, rising fees, maintenance that never seemed to get done. Then others started talking. Mrs. Davidson fined for her quiet old dog until her son, a lawyer, got involved. Mr. Henderson pressured to repaint his house a specific beige, only available from Karen's cousin's store. I combed through public records, pored over HOA minutes, looking for a pattern. Then things got wild. Turns out Karen's been running shell companies, Greenscape Innovations, Secure Aquatics, Lilith, inflated contracts, shoddy work money funneling through a tangle of accounts, some of it paying the rent on a storage unit in a sketchy part of town. Guess who was listed as a witness on the rental application? Spencer. Why would a 16-year-old sign anything for a warehouse in an industrial park? That's when I called in a favor. A buddy of mine, Jake, who's a PI. He dug deeper. Turns out Unit 12B wasn't just holding old lawnmowers. It was a front for a fencing operation, stolen TVs, computers, gaming consoles, all trafficked with HOA money. Spencer was helping unloading vans. This was organized crime, not just petty corruption. I knew I needed real evidence. When Lou tipped me off that Spencer was heading to the warehouse alone, I grabbed my camera and rushed over. Heart pounding, I slipped inside, snapped photos of stacks of electronics, got pictures of a ledger, dates, numbers, everything. But then Spencer caught me. For a moment, we stared at each other. He was just a scared kid in way over his head. I told him it was over, that he needed to think for himself. And right then, Karen herself burst in, swinging a tire iron, more furious than ever. The showdown in that warehouse was pure chaos, her blocking the exit, yelling about conspiracies, demanding my camera. I called 911, hoping the dispatcher would catch the action. She came at me swinging just as sirens wailed. The police rolled up, guns drawn. Karen froze. Spencer finally broke and told them everything, showed the cops his phone messages, proof. That was the twist I didn't see coming, her own son testifying against her. Karen was arrested, charged with felonies, embezzlement, money laundering, assault, you name it. Spencer, because he cooperated, got community service and counseling. The HOA held new elections. Lou got nominated, and grumpy as he was, accepted. The neighborhood finally felt lighter. We could breathe again. Sarah and I, we finally found some peace. Lily thrived, never knowing how close she came to being another headline. And you know what? Sometimes late at night, I still think about it, how far a person will go to protect what matters, to stand up for justice when the system tries to look away. It's not about revenge. It's about making sure people like Karen can't keep hurting others. You stand your ground, not just for yourself, but for everyone who's too scared to fight. In the end, the most spiteful Karens sometimes get what's coming to them, even if you have to push a little harder than you ever thought you could. Now, I want to know, where do you draw the line? When does standing up for yourself become standing up for your whole community? Drop your thoughts below, because this story, like so many others in neighborhoods just like ours, isn't over. Not until people speak up for what's right.